first of all, Mark Reckless, how angry are the backbenchers? Are they angry enough and numerous enough to derail the proposal altogether?
Well, I mean, I think people are unhappy, and we heard from Giles that Britain had signed up to this. But, you know, ever since at least the Civil War, it's been MPs who control supply, who have the purse strings, who decide what the government should spend and tax on our behalf. And today, for the first time, we are actually going to get our say if we support this mechanism, if we support these bailouts that are already taking £12.5 billion, £500 per household, and twice as much as the whole of the domestic savings which we made last year.
So, in your opinion, is our Chancellor being lily-livered about this?
Well, I think certainly the Treasury has been sort of lily-livered. Essentially, the EU, they have put in place this EU-wide mechanism, yet they've agreed a no bailout clause. It's meant only to be for natural disasters, yet they're using us using that to tie us in to the euro, where we're seeing sort of, you know, Spain, Italy, we're seeing the whole thing in this dreadful situation. All we can do is vote today to at least protect ourselves, possibly Ireland. We can't save the euro. That's the issue they've got. We warned them not to do it. They went into it. Anyhow, but today at least we have a chance to extract ourselves from these bailouts.
Okay, lily-livered and with their fingers in their ears, Matthew Hancock.
Well, I think that what all the Conservative benches would agree on is that we shouldn't be further bailing out, Britain shouldn't be further bailing out the Eurozone countries. There was a special case in the case of Ireland because we've got very close ties with Ireland. But the country was signed up by Alistair Darling to this mechanism. George Osborne said at the time that he didn't think he should have signed up, but he did. And so now it's under majority voting in the EU, so there's no veto. So although Mark's proposal says that the UK would have an opinion on this, actually that we don't have a veto under Darling's solution. However, what we have, I think, managed to do, and quite successfully, is that it's a matter of getting other European finance ministers to say, actually, it wouldn't be right for Britain to contribute. And for instance, we had the French finance minister 10 days or so ago saying that Britain won't be asked to help bail out in future.
Okay.
And given that we're signed up,
Owen is trying to get in, but just to put that for a second back to you, there's no veto. There's no point in making a noise about this. This is posturing. This is gesture politics. Nothing more from you.
I'm afraid Matthew is wrong on that. We do have a veto. We have a veto over the permanent bailout arrangements which the Eurozone wants to set up, and we can use that veto as a lever to say, we will only agree to what you want to do permanently if you absolve us of all liability under this bailout mechanism that should never have been set up and is illegal even under your own rules.
We have a veto over the permanent setup that is going to come into force in 2013, and that means that in that system we've ensured that Britain won't participate in a bailout. So we've used that, but now it's what we do now is a matter of the facts on the ground, and the fact on the ground is that over this we have no veto because Alistair Darling threw it away.
Yes, I mean, you've said that a couple of times now, but at the time, and Alistair Darling has put on record that he was in discussions with George Osborne about this. George Osborne actually voted in favour of allowing the mechanism to be used for the Irish rescue because, in the words of Mr Osborne, to have voted against this at this time I would have judged to have been very disruptive.
Yes, as I said, that we supported the Irish bailout, in fact with a bilateral loan as well, because of the very strong links, the amount of the Irish banks have in the British economy and the massive contributions. We actually export more to Ireland than we do to China and India, sadly, because those two big growing economies. But what George Osborne disagreed with Darling was whether we should sign up to this bailout, and he told him over that weekend, it was the weekend after Labour had lost the election, Alistair Darling was still the Chancellor, and he signed up Britain into these bailouts, and now we have no veto until 2013, and then we get our veto back.
Owen, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, it's unclear how many fingerprints George Osborne has in this thing. There's a big sub-rosa debate going on whether he nodded yes to the whole deal.
Alistair Darling made clear that he said no, so that I know the facts.
Let Owen finish the point.
There we are.
Okay, well, in any event, look, this is a small part of a huge problem that Britain has. Right now, the Eurozone members are meeting all the time on major financial issues. If they choose, they have a majority in the EU. And so they can pass this problem along to the entire EU from just the Eurozone. And their argument would simply be that your banks are going to be affected. I mean, people are saying if Greece goes down, it's going to be Lehman Brothers too. I don't know if that's true. But the fact is, you guys are implicated in this as long as you are members of the EU, period. And so you might as well start figuring out what defense mechanisms you can put in place.
So Mark Reckless is nodding there. I mean, that essentially is what all of this kicking off is about, isn't it? It's about something as very basic as the EU as an entity itself.
I mean, I think it does come to that, and I think what the question now is do we want to remain part of the EU, or will we again be an independent country? And we should put that to the people in a referendum. And I've been backing an organisation called the People's Pledge. I would encourage everyone to do so, but only to support candidates who will give the people the referendum they deserve on whether we should stay in the EU or be independent.
Is this a situation where the backbenchers are well, they're kicking back at a time when you could really do with a bit more loyalty from them?
I'm a backbencher, and I think that what the government's doing is right. And the signatories to the proposal that I'm supporting in Parliament today, for instance, Graham Brady and John Glenn and others from the right of the party. So actually, this is what the party is united behind is that we shouldn't be bailing out the Eurozone further. And coming back to Irwin's big picture point, you know, these sovereign debt crises on the fringes of Europe are a really serious and big issue, and they affect us all. The Irish one would have affected us had it got worse, very badly indeed, and that's why I think we were right to help them bilaterally. But there is an institution that is set up in order to deal with these sorts of crises around the world, and it's the IMF. So I think that inside the Eurozone, you know, they can arrange things how they like. They've got one currency, so I can see why they might want internal bailouts. But outside of the Eurozone, we shouldn't be a part of that, and it's down to the IMF actually to try to come.
Just on the final point, I mean, to you, Mark Reckless, so many things have to go wrong before the UK actually has to put its hand in its pocket. So, again, is this not just scaremongering? Is this not gesture politics to get the real agenda out into the open?
No, I mean, the key point is we have a veto over the establishment of a permanent bailout mechanism. We could, if we wanted, threaten to use that veto unless we're absolved of responsibility under this mechanism that shouldn't have been set up in the first place.
Okay, well, thank you both very much for being with us.